Hello, listeners, and welcome to the season 2 of The Human Weave Breaking Stereotypes. This is where we explore what it means to dive deeper into our humanity, to remember that we are all part of an interconnected ecospace where every individual has the power to carve a space for themselves in harmony with others and with the world around them. This season's theme, Breaking Stereotypes, is more than a phrase. It is a pulse, a rhythm of voices that challenge norms, question limits, and carve bold new paths. We are your hosts, Roshan Yash, and in this season, we bring you the untold stories of people who are not waiting for permission, people who defy labels, live with courage, choose differently, and become the change they once searched for. Each episode is a mirror, a movement, and a moment to ask, what if the box never fit us in the first place? Let's step into the real, the raw, and the revolutionary.
We are joined today by someone who doesn't just ride through roads. She rides through expectations, assumptions, and long held beliefs about what women can and cannot do. Devyashri MS is not your typical biker. She's a cybersecurity engineer by profession, a state level athlete, and a fierce rider who qualified for the TVS Racing selection round and the Hero Dirt Race finale. Spaces where women are still largely underrepresented. Her biking journey didn't begin as a rebellion, it began with curiosity encouraged by her father and uncle. What started as a summer skill has since evolved into a quiet revolution. She didn't set out to break barriers, but by showing up, by riding with fearlessness and joy, she inspired others to do the same. And that is what makes her story so powerful.
Divya breaks stereotypes not with slogans but with motion. With every ride, she redefines what's possible for women, not just in motorsports, but in tech, in adventure, and in life. She's also a talented MC, a Carnatic music vocalist, a swimmer, and a visual artist. A living reminder that identity doesn't have to be singular. In a world that so often tries to box women into just one version of themselves, Divya shows us what it means to live fully, to be powerful, passionate, and unapologetically you. We couldn't think of a better guest for this episode on breaking stereotypes. Divya, welcome to the Human Weave. It's a joy to have you with us.
Thank you, Rosh, and thank you, Yash, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So let's start by rewinding to your seventh grade summer. I know it was a special summer. What did it feel like to learn biking as a young girl? Did you feel like it was something different and bold?
Uh, at that point, my perspective didn't go as I'm learning a motorbike. It was just an upgrade from bicycle to motorcycle, and that's it. It also turned out that that was the only option we had. We had only bikes at home, so I'm just learning a bike. It's just that simple upgrade. Like it was wonderful that all that excitement as a kid. It was always that you sit in the front and you're given the accelerator and everything else is controlled by your dad or someone who's riding. Then finally, when you have the whole machine for yourself, even now, it is always a great feeling.
Can imagine the excitement, like any new thing we get when we are younger. It almost must have felt like a
Yes.
toy in your hand, right?
Yeah, like even when I'm not on the bike, I'm sitting, I used to practice how slow I should leave the clutch, how much accelerator should be given. It kept running always. If I'm even riding a bicycle, like, okay, this much accelerator should be fine if I ride tomorrow. Those initial days are always fun. You always revolve around the same thing. Those are great times.
Did you ask for it from your dad, or was it he who initiated it into your life?
Initially, when I was very young, also, if I'm sitting in the front, he used to just give me the handbar. He's like, okay, you accelerate. I'll take care of clutch and gears. So that is how we used to ride from very young age. He used to let me do little acceleration and all. And I never asked that I want to learn a bike. It was them. It was like, okay, now it is the age. She's tall enough. Let us introduce her to actually moped, any scooter, any vehicle, but it started with a bike. 1 or 2 days I had with moped, but Immediately, it was not something that I asked for also. This is the bike we have, come, I'll teach you. That is how it started, basically.
That's interesting because when you were saying about this is what we had, generally what
Yes.
happens is you have to start with a two-wheeler and then comes the option of if you have the passion or the interest to go for a bike. At least that is how it was for me. So, how was it for you?
I jumped into biking, I learned bike, then I started exploring that okay, there are going to be rides, there is racing side, and there are different classes of bike, sport, naked bike, there is adventure tourer. These are the things that I learned later on. I didn't choose what I want and then jumped into it. Something that started very casually and somewhere not even realizing that I was breaking a stereotype, which fortunately my parents did it for me. It was just a joyful experience that I'm enjoying doing without any extra things coming to my head. That is how it was. And it still is. Even now I face question that I think like, okay, there is this perspective also. I might not know it because I was never asked about that or that topic never came up. Still, I face few things that I realized late. Even now, I'm realizing few things that okay, that is a stereotype that was actually broken before I realized.
Wow. It's a beautiful way to actually break a stereotype. And I think your story is special in that way also because it was not a rebellious breaking of
Yes,
stereotype, but a very, very quiet one, just doing it for the joy of it and reaching where you are now. But when you started off, what kind of reactions did you get from your friends, your peers, from society, people around when you started riding?
initially when I started riding, I had the notion that people are looking at me because it's a kid. A kid is riding a bike. Even now, if a small guy or a girl, a kid is riding a bike, we tend to see like, oh wow, they're riding a bike. So I thought that is how they're looking at me also. Then later I realized, okay, they're also seeing that because I'm a girl and I'm a girl child, that is why they're watching. Then later came a phase where they were even questioning me directly, my parents also. And their honest reply was like, you see her riding. She's riding fine, so we should be fine. She's not harming herself, not doing any stunts. So I think this should be fine. So that was the reply. And I also eventually started telling the same thing. Oh, you ride a bike? Yeah, I ride a bike. For me, it was always a common thing, just like how you ride a bicycle, how everyone rides. It is a very common daily routine kind of thing that I accepted in myself. So whoever question, I've always tried to make them understand that it is a normal thing and majority of them also have come to accepting their next generation to take up or their sisters or any woman they have supported. So I think there has been a good impact in that way.
And it must be wonderful to actually see it, right?
Yes, it is. When they come up and say that you're right, oh, my daughter was always asking for a bike. Okay, now I see you riding. Do you ride every day? Yeah, I do every day. Okay, you go for rides. These are the questions that comes up when it is coming from a parent, and they have a girl child or kid of my same age. And there are times when even guy parents have come and talked about the same thing. Oh, my son is or my daughter is asking for a bike. I always had a second thought. You're managing it well. I think maybe I should give a thought about that. And same thing with my friends also and my juniors. When recently also a girl came, she's like, we I just showed all your pictures at home, and they're like, they got convinced. These many years I kept telling that I wanted to ride a bike, but now they have more confidence because they see you, they know you personally also, so they know that I can manage. So when I hear these things, it is really good. It happened without intention, but still there is an impact, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. I'm wondering the thing that is so common to you. At what point did you realize that it was not so common for everybody else?
I think it took some time. When I initially started going on rides, also, if we have some coffee break, I heard people telling that, hey, I have a daughter at home who rides an Enfield. Like, wow, that's nice. Then there was a time when I have an Apache RTR, and there are many times that I come across even now to tell that my daughter rides an Enfield. So that kind of perspective is there. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Does she have a bike? Does she come on ride? Can we join? These were the conversation, and the conversation would stop there. So that is when I started realizing that, okay, they have taught their daughter, or she has learned on her own to ride a bike, but it is not going any further than that. So at that point, I started realizing many people know how to ride a bike, but there are very few who own a bike and enjoy it on daily basis. That was the realizing.
And I think it also comes from a place of, so like you rightly pointed out, in our society, uh, two wheelers are considered more dangerous, right? And it's not about just women. Even to give their sons, initially there is a hesitancy, but because
Yes,
so
yes.
many men around have the bikes, they kind of give in at some point. But I have also seen a lot of parents resist giving a two wheeler to the child, even bicycles for that matter. Now that I'm in Mauritius, I do see a lot of European families, they encourage cycling a lot, and they cycle as a
Yes.
family. It's a very common thing. As a family, this is an activity they do together to bond and, to have a good time. But that's not really the concept of a two wheeler in our society also. What do you feel about that?
There are two things when you want to do something. There is a fear in you that is stopping you, or you have a fear and you're imposing on someone and you're stopping that person also to do that. These two things happen. The same way, as an individual, I might fear something out of my own fear, or because someone is imposing it on me. Even if I'm having a motorcycle or if I'm into any sport or anything, I don't want to be injured, right? Riding a bike doesn't mean I'll crash. Racing doesn't mean I'll have an injury. Even I don't want that. That will stop me from riding. It is just a sin that it might happen. Like everything comes with a tag of good and bad. It is there. We have to accept that. And when it comes to, giving bike for guy or a girl, their children, that is one main thing that most of the parents fear. One thing they have to understand is that every time you ride, you don't fall. You don't, even they have it in their mind that they should not fall. So they will take care, they will be cautious. I think that one little change can come a long way later on to adapt more things.
What I understand from what you shared now is also that if parents if they're afraid, what they need to focus on is build that quality in their child to ensure that they are following safety,
Yeah,
prioritizing safety always, right?
like from my own example, if I have to give, initially when I started learning also, it used to go like you need to know how you move a vehicle from first gear. After that, second, third is gonna come in the flow. But you shouldn't stall your bike in the first go, right? So when that practice is happening also, if I had a fall, my parents or my uncle, whoever is teaching me, their approach was very different. They were not rushing to help me. They're like, come on, learn to lift a bike. You fell somewhere on the road. We might not be there. You might even fall where there is no one. So you should know to lift your own bike. Suppose it is a slope road. You're not able to park in a side stand. So learn how to put the middle stand. I knew all this from very initial days. Like other cousins, if they have a bike also, I used to go and ask, like, can I ride your bike? That is always there. You want to try different motorcycle. When you know something, you want to try everything around it. So when I used to go, that challenge was common. If you put the middle stand, I'll give you my bike. Like, yeah, I can do that. It is just technique. It doesn't require every ounce of my strength. So these things, if you adopt, you are fearing that you might crash. Why? You might fear you might skid somewhere. Maintain your bike properly, learn the proper braking. These are the simple things that we can adopt like a preventive measure. There is no guarantee that you might never end up crashing. That is always there. Being cautious is something we can take up. Even the gears, how you brake, maintain your bikes. If we take care of these things, and eventually we'll learn. I was not riding the same way I ride now 5 years back when I got my bike. But I'm much better and I'm learning every day. It's just the same way.
That's something that is applicable even when you start teaching children to walk on the streets, cross the road. First thing is, don't just be in a hurry to cross. Look
Yes.
here
Look
and there.
around.
So it is important to teach them safety. Again, for our listeners, I think that is the important point I'm hearing from you here, that if you are confident with that part, that your child will be responsible with the thing, to go beyond the fear, what you need to do is address what actually causes the fear, that is safety.
Yeah, it's more like what you can do in those moments rather than stopping yourself from fearing those moments. What if it happens? And how are you prepared if it happens?
Yeah, like when we get confidence from others also that, yeah, come on, you can do it, our own self-confidence boosts. Not only in biking, maybe anything you're taking up. If there is someone supporting me, no matter what willpower an individual is having, it always boosts up. But at the same time, if there is one negative thought you put, somewhere we kind of have that thought, that fear that what if it happened? What if they are right? What if I end up like that? So that questioning or that doubting part will be so much reduced when you give the confidence to others. It might not be directly from parents, your peer group, everything matter.
I'm wondering, we were speaking about some serious stuff. So I was interested to know, was there any fun stories you've heard around being a woman biker?
Fun as in not exactly that way, but the other part of fun I would like to bring up here, where how I met so many women on road, is the fun part. Baikarni Mysore is one very renowned biking community in India, Baikarni. It was started by Urvashi Patole, and one of the branch is in Mysore as well. How the whole group of Baikarni Mysore was formed is amazing. We had one of our head riders that time, Roshni, and she found a random lady riding on bike, so she went chasing her, and they got in contact, and those two, the first point of contact there. Then again, she saw me on another road riding. She came chasing it. We met there. We just randomly met on road. We're like, hey, you're right. You're right. We're from Mysore. I think we should form a team, do something about it. And after that, there were many who joined in their early ages, also 40 plus, 50 plus, who learned to ride a bike, who got their bike of their own. Like, this was the fun part. Out of nowhere, you're riding and someone suddenly stops and approaches to start a community. See that fun? This would have never happened in my life if I would have not explored this part, the whole motorcycling part. So that is the fun of it.
You wouldn't have met so many friends also, right? Like in this community, I'm sure you would have made some close friendships through this experience.
Yes, yes, definitely. Bikers have this common mindset, I would say, wherever you go. If we are just passing by, I might be waving a hi. If I'm going on a road and if it is just me and another biker just happens to catch me and we suddenly start riding together, we stop a signal like, hey, that was a good ride. We might never meet again, but that half an hour or 1 hour what we spend on road, that is always great. It is all about getting that same mindset. When I was in sport, if I'm playing basketball, all of them who played basketball, they have that same mindset. Where they go, wherever we sport, we come up with the same energy. When we shift to biking, that energy is different, but the whole group is having the same energy. And when you do something out of the box, all the stereotypes when you break, when you do something that you love, there is a whole world that opens up. Probably if I had not been into biking, I would have had few lesser friends who I got to know because of biking. And I would have visited a little less number of places. Or I would have not enjoyed the wind like I did on bike and maybe traveled in a car. The experience would be very different.
So when you mentioned about finding strangers in the traffic signals and forming communities, I'm also wondering, do you think there are enough organizations or communities specifically for biking with women, probably racing or as a passion?
Racing opens up a whole different chapter, which is I am also new to it. Like last year is the only year I did racing. Though I wanted to get into it from 4 years, I was trying. Then COVID happened. I missed the registration another year. So then there are racing academies which give you L1, L2 certificate. There is FMSCI which gives you the licensing. So there is a whole different part. And in racing, especially for women, there is a lot of support compared to men. There is TVS Racing, which is great. It happens every year. They organize racing in 4 to 5 different states actually, and the top performers from there are brought into MMRT. So that is how the whole racing part goes. When it comes to riding groups, as in you travel and you ride to explore new places, there are n number of clubs. There is only women riding club, and as a woman, I can go and join any club. That is the privilege. If it is a women's riding club, we often tend to avoid the men crowd because if it is a stayover, there are concerns, and I don't think they are wrong about it. They are new, their pace is quite slow, they are still adapting. For different phases, also, there are different riding groups. One common thing that I would like to bring it up, and I have noticed, is that how the guys come on ride and go. I think more and more women also should come up in that way. Of course, we have different courses of life and everything when it comes to men. Even though we fight for equity, equality, and everything, there is some difference. I agree. There are set of different responsibilities, but just say yes to that one ride. You will learn how to manage it. You can do it better the next time. Just say yes. If you have a riding group, even if it is 3 to 4 girls, just go out with them. The whole vibe you have with women riders is different than having mix of all riders. It is different, and there is a lot of learning and lot of support you get because almost everyone comes from the same background. We have been hearing the same things. It becomes like a support group. You tend to learn. Someone else might have come from a different circumstance where there were no chances of them coming and showing up for a ride today, but still they made it. They might not reach the destination, but still they made it. They wanted to. Next time they might come up with a better plan. So that is how it is. There are n number of groups, but yeah, I think we should start riding.
That's a very powerful statement, saying yes despite whatever situations come up. And having those like minded people is what the community brings in, I guess, especially for female riders when there is a lot of opposition at times from home.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, so since motorcycling is seen as a masculine pursuit, um, what are the different myths or stereotypes that you have heard from other women bikers, that they have to face?
One thing that they need to understand before having any of such thought is motorcycle is a machine. It doesn't know your gender. And always the constant doubt is about height, how I'm going to manage the weight of the motorcycle. You're not going to carry the motorcycle. You're just going to ride on it. And your moped are equally heavy. If you're able to ride it, you can. There are very simple techniques. And in fact, now there are many rider groups. They are coming up to support women riders. They teach, they train, and they train you everything. We have self-start, but they'll start from the kickstart so that you know every single thing. Don't worry about your height or the motorcycle is too heavy for me. You will learn. Slowly, gradually, you will. That is one thing. You just have to kick it off. That is one common thing that I keep hearing. Maybe I have to go to a shorter bike because it is fine for my height. No, take the bike that you love, that you always wanted to ride, and then learn how to adjust to your height. My height, my weight doesn't support all my motorcycle either. The way I ride, the other person next to me might not ride the same way, but we ride in our own way. Everyone rides in their own different way. You just have to find yours. It is that simple. And that fear, it is always going to be there.
When you have a community, there must be moments where you share that for you it was more easier in that sense without knowing that you're breaking the stereotype. Your parents were there to support you. Have you come across other women for whom the journey towards their passion was more difficult?
Yes, many of them. Many of my classmates who got their bikes recently had to wait till their graduation to start earning and afford their own bike from their own money. And Then they went on to convince that now I'm getting a bike. From now I'm gonna ride. Like they had to work hard in that way. And there are a lot of things they would have missed. But at least they started at this point, right? So that is the thing. There is so many struggles. I know few racers who had to do their own funding. In fact, I am very lucky when it comes to all my friends also. They are very supportive. If I go on a racing, I had 5 people come with me just for one person to go on a race. But there were other racers who came early in the morning, all by themselves, taking care of all the gears. When they come to the pit also, it was them who were hydrating themselves. No one to just tell correct few things like you were slowing down there. If I'm getting inputs from 4 people. They might not be on track any day, but according to their observation, I used to get the input like you're slowing down a bit early compared to other riders. See, these kind of input, not everyone who are there were able to get. That feels very sad. And after end of the race, actually one of the riders, she came and she was very happy and she said that you all have come for her. I wish I had this support for me. Like I've come all alone here. Could you guys come? Can we grab a coffee? We have had these conversations. It really hurts, Just because it was easy for me, it is not easy for everyone out there. It is definitely not. And there's no point in making it difficult for anyone. She's not doing anything wrong, nothing against humanity. She's doing the right thing. Just because you think it is dangerous, that doesn't mean it is wrong. You can provide your support how much you can from your end, but end of the day, there are so many people who are suffering. The acceptance, everyone should get that acceptance that yeah, let her do. We'll see. We'll be there for her. We'll support her. In any field, in the career you want to pursue, your passion might be different, but you end up in a different job. It's fine. Let her do what she wants to do. Let her not forcefully take the path that you want to take because you feel it is a safer choice. What if she excels in that? In fact, I have faced many things when I used to go on rides initially. My father is a very bold character from first. He has had his own group of friends. He used to ride in his time. All bike mods he used to do for his college. That is how he was. While my mom came from a very conservative family, and it took time for her also to accept that I'm going on rides, which nobody did from my family. So she had that fear. Oh, she's going. At some point, she used to even think like if I go to Bandipur for a ride, then I am gone. The lion will come and attack me only directly. There were fights on that. While I'm on road, I have fought with my mom about that. Like, don't do this. It took time to understand. It also, at some certain level, it becomes our responsibility also to make them understand that no, it is not dangerous. It is safe. We are just riding like other people. Just that there is a gender difference. There is nothing much. It is the same machine, the same roads. I'm doing the same thing. If they are safe, I'm safe too. You don't have to worry.
In fact, it's very strange because, when you're not riding, I remember women were mostly pillion riders before. And if you're wearing a sari or something, you sit sideways, which is such a dangerous thing actually to do if you're thinking about it. But I don't remember anybody kind of making this such a big issue, safety issue, that women should not be riding like this. But there, nobody says this. It is when you are in charge as a woman rider that this comes into question.
Yes, actually, in fact, when we are invited for now, Independence Day is coming. When there is an Independence Day ride, Republic Day ride, a group ride, for any event, particularly, which is not a farther distance, somewhere city ride, for awareness, any rides like this, most of the time, very good step women are taking is that their attire is sari. It might be in different fashion that they wear according to their culture, but they come beautifully dressed in sari. There might be many videos that even you might have come across that women tend to come in their favorite choice or attire when it is in riding for a cause or anything. I think that's wonderful. That takes that whole one thought out of the brain. where how do you ride if you're wearing a sari? What if you have to go to a function but you have a bike, then what do you do? There are options. That is a very good thing, and I personally like that too.
I mean, the worst thing is that worst case scenario, you could always wear whatever, go to the venue, change, and be ready. So that should be the last thing on our minds.
There was this one thing I used to say initially when all the talks were going on at home about me getting a bike. The first circle also came up with this thought. They're like, now she's joining college. I was in my second year of engineering when I got my bike. So that thought was there. What if there is a college function and she has to go? How will she go then? And like that one day for which I have to think, I will take an auto or a cab. But for that, I cannot compromise my everyday riding. You see, just every day, at least now we don't tend to wear sari, right? Even if you do, it is not a mistake. You can still ride a bike in a sari. So for that one day, at that situation, what you gonna do? For that one thought, don't compromise your everyday happiness.
That's a nice point, actually. And see how the situation might have been with such a bold dad and mom being very conservative. How do you think that has helped you shape your courage and freedom in your choices?
The confidence that they gave me, and maybe that I didn't have a perception that I'm doing something out of the box, always push me towards enjoying what I'm doing. Maybe if they had not been that supportive, I would have taken it as a challenge, maybe. I don't know. But that would have been a challenge, a burden. I would want to prove myself. I would not ask a stranger to help me pull a bike when it was difficult. I would be more cautious. Even now, that cautiousness should be there. It is there. But if this confidence was not given to me, that consciousness would have turned into fear. So that is one major thing that has helped me shape into what I am today. Now I hear it a lot of people tell that you're so bold, you're like this, you're strong because of the support that you have received, and that is great. So these things, when I hear, that is very much true. That is very true. Without the initial first group support, it becomes difficult. You can still do it, but your path becomes very difficult.
It's such an important point you're bringing in here, the role of good support system in your life. How, if that is not there, you are fighting a lot of things before you actually get to the place where
Yes,
you want to get.
yes,
Not the real difficulties, like not the difficulties, like for example in biking, probably, how to learn the techniques or the initial struggles when you are still learning. Those are not your obstacles. You're putting all your energy into people and fighting people.
yes,
But when that support system is there, that is when the start line is much ahead. Like when the
yes,
starting point is much further, then your end destination also goes further.
yes. Yeah, you're very much right because when the stereotype is broken for me, it doesn't feel that I'm doing anything different. And that is a common human thing, that when you're doing something and you know that you're different from majority of the crowd, that cautiousness will strike you. So since that stereotype was broken for me, and it is not going to continue further, of course, I will not pass it on to my next generation or the people around me, because that was never there in my thoughts. It was never there. That stereotype never existed in my thoughts. So that approach and everything becomes completely different. It's true.
Divya, when you were saying about the generational stereotypes that are broken, your parents did it for you, and you're no longer experiencing that, and you don't pass it on to the next generation as well. So, I was wondering, how do you see our generation shifting the way we look at the gender roles? How do you see yourself contributing to that change?
Somewhere I try to build acceptance in everyone. That is the easiest way, I would say, the simplest way to do that. Accepting and maybe more visibility. I also had a role to play which I would have not realized uh, till very recent time. It is not a stereotype anymore. There is no doubt anymore. So I think this will lead to the acceptance that I expect from everyone in any field for that matter. If you are okay with anyone doing anything and if you are ready to support them, that is the biggest thing we can do for someone. So, in order to make that happen from my side, I would say my visibility would become more important. I have to be more vocal. I will try to be more vocal. I wanted to bring up all these ridings and racing, all other opportunities out loud for people, which I was not doing. I'm not sure for what particular reason also, but I see its importance now. I will have to be more vocal about it for just to reach any random person. If there is one person changing, one person understanding also, then that goes on, it grows.
This is why stories become so important. Like, stories have been part of our culture, childhood, because stories do influence. Like, even a child
Yes.
is told a story because that can help inculcate values, your thinking, and so many things. And I think even your story, as such, is doing that in a larger picture, impacting or influencing minds to think, if they have not seen this, there this exists. Yeah.
Yes, now I think online I'll have to do it more because if people, my neighbors are seeing me, I can see the changes in them. Now, if I'm riding in my road, nobody sees, keeps staring or wonder or anything. Even if there is another girl coming in my road with a bike, so they'll happily point out that that girl who lives in that house, she also does the same. I think you can be friends. That has happened. My neighbors, they have got that acceptance. I think I should work on it in doing it in a larger scale.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the movie I had watched recently called Dhak Dhak, which featured four women, different age groups, and coming from different backgrounds with their own problems, but going on this bike trip. And now when you're talking about the stories, I could relate to that movie because it shows how important support is. Like, when you're riding together as women, how it brings a different kind of a bond, how it's important to look out for each other. So again, movie is definitely a way of bringing stories, like showing that this exists in the world. And I found that movie very inspiring in that sense, because I remember I also had this conversation with my husband that he was telling me bike is a very men's thing. We have this real passion for bikes, and I argue with him saying that no, not really. I know my dad really hated two wheelers. He always thought of it as something very scary. And I know that I myself loved sitting on a bike, but I always thought of it sitting behind somebody because I didn't have examples in front of me, women who were riding. So I at least wanted to be the woman who is sitting behind a bike. But had I had examples, probably I would have definitely been inspired to try it out. And me and my husband, when we were having this discussion, we were saying, yes, so then with our daughter, this is something we want to break, that concept that it's not a boy's thing. So we would like to introduce it to our daughter at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's how it has become for at least the four-wheelers, right? It was such a thing in the past, and now it's so commonly accepted. Like, no one even bothers if a female is riding the car.
Yeah, lot of changes. 10 years back from now, riding a car, I think that is something that collectively everybody broke a very big stereotype then. And there is a lot of progress when it comes to motorcycling also. And I'm very happy. I would love to see this being a very common thing. Then you don't have anything else in your background. That is when you enjoy riding, or when you know you're doing something that is very common, that is very good, and you're comfortable in that. That joy is different.
Yes.
That should happen soon.
Actually, just wanted to bring this point in that because women are also conditioned from childhood towards safety and taking care and things like this. I think somewhere we have developed that thing of many a times not doing things out of law or do it very rashly. We wouldn't like, I can talk in context of driving. I think I know more women who would advocate not drinking and driving, like even if they have had one small drink or half a drink, they wouldn't prefer driving or not speeding too much. So I'm not generalizing it, but I think it's the conditioning also, that we are always taught since our childhood to be more careful. Whereas, oh, boys will be boys and they jump and fall from trees. And this is such a common thing for them, breaking legs or doing things like this.
This version biking is a very common thing that we hear is they say I'm a beginner, so can we go for a shorter ride, breakfast ride? When you know to ride, you can ride. The roads are same. So you can go. Don't keep that one perspective that I am a beginner, maybe I have to ride only short rides. No. After that again you're gonna ride back home, right? But you're going to do it a little longer. Riding bike remains the same there. It is just time duration. That is the biking version of what you are explaining. This is one common thing that we hear.
Like I was telling you the other time that I'm a very beginner where I go just to the next area and not really far. Yeah, yeah, I could resonate with that.
Like you, you can take breaks. You're confident riding only 20 kilometers. After that, you might feel fatigued or tired. Take a break. Then do the next 20, and eventually you will learn. It's just one step at a time. Back then, I was also a girl who was just riding only in my street, right in front of my parents' eyesight only.
Yeah. When you were mentioning about the joy of riding, I also wanted to talk about your joy of getting selected for the events like TVS Racing and Hero Dirt Race, which is less being a woman in such male dominated spaces, right? So, how was it for you?
I was very skeptical when it came to dirt bike. TVS, I was very comfortable because maybe that is the bike I ride on day to day basis also. And the roads and track roads are the same tar roads. So that one perspective I definitely had. But when it came to off-roading, the bike is different. The gears that you use is different. Your techniques is different. The whole control how you have on track is different than how it is on dirt. Your strength has to be completely on your core. It is not always too much technical when it comes to dirt. You need to have that experience and the ramp. At once you cannot go on a higher ramp, but if it is track, it is the same corner. You just learn it in step by step way. But if you suddenly see a very big ramp, of course we are gonna panic. So I was skeptical on the hero racing that I did. But one very good thing that happens is, see, when Hero also arranged their event, they came up with a concept that it is for professional different category and amateur different category. So when it came to amateur category, the bike, gears, everything was given. And they also taught us when we went, they used to guide us on every single thing. If you have to go on a ramp, this is how you start. This is how you start. In this much RPM, then you release, then you launch, then you take, then you go forward. There is step by step in every single thing, and people are gonna help you. But when I went to TVS racing, though I was comfortable, I was more confident compared to dirt. What surprised me was I was actually a very fresher to track than compared to dirt track because track wise it has gone to way too advanced. Track has gone a long way now. There are multiple training academies that are coming up with L1, L2 certificates. And in my MMRT round, I was the only one who didn't come from any racing background. For TVS racing, when I went, I was the only one who went without any background in racing. There were people who were national champions that time, who had played a whole season with TVS that time, and they knew exactly how to conquer a corner. I used to feel scared before the race started. See, cornering, they name it as C1, C2, C3, C4, and they had the track in their minds. And I think C4 we have to do this, and C5 we have to do this. There were strategies going on, and I didn't know how to do, but then it started. Like, okay, let's see. I wanted to experience this. I'm here. Whatever happens, let's see. If I get selected, good. If not, I'll come back, was that blind thought that I had. And when they started teaching, of course, they're experts, they're professionals. Everything went step by step there also. Your body language, how it should be, how it when your throttle is completely open, what your body language should be, and when you're taking off, when the race is about to start, what are the steps, and how you get into each position before starting off a race. Everything is being taught. At least for women, we have this opportunity to go and learn on track day, which men are not having that. If they have to race for TVS, then they need to have at least one or two podium finishes personally, which they'll have to do, getting their own licensing and their own L1, L2 certificates, their own FMSCI license, and they do racing and come out. But as a woman, that is a privilege. You are taken directly to Madras International Circuit and they're teaching you on the circuit what to do, even though you have no idea. No idea, as in, even though suit up, like, okay, this is the suit, I'm holding it for the first time. How do I put it on my own? I was also this blind. Riding is different, but tracks are completely different. And every lap by lap, your speed starts increasing. You also come up with your strategy. You understand why knowing your corners is important, why knowing the map of the racetrack is very important. And you will learn. You might not learn everything at once. You don't have to compete with anyone, but at least you're better than the day it started. The way I sat for the first session, I had evolved to a completely different person when I had come out of the fourth session. And when they said that now you're going to be timed, I was not fear anymore. Maybe if they would have told you're going to be timed in the very first race, of course I'll be. But after so much training, even if I'm timed, I have the confidence that let me see what my timing is going to be. That is how the approach changed. So it was a beautiful experience. I'm definitely going back again because one thing, I want to do it with complete heart this time. When I learned biking, I didn't have that fear, right? It was always a jovial thing that I did and I enjoyed doing. But since racing was new, and of course, I had heard a lot of things when I said I'm going on a race and be careful, don't hit like you are not coming home with injuries. Promise me that these things happen. And I was also scared about that. What if I slip in a corner? What if I end up in an injury? How I'm gonna do? So I think next time I want to leave all that aside and concentrate only on enjoying that particular moment.
There is a part which is technical, skill based, and that is something with time you learn. But the
Yes.
bigger conquer that you make is your mindset.
Yes.
You took biking as a passion. It was a joy for you, and then taking it to a next level is always about how ready you are to conquer the next step, right?
Yes, like that is a whole world that opened up, a different world. Now that I am into racing, now the Formula One movie didn't feel like just Formula One movie, nice racing. Now I know why at that particular corner they were taking, because that is how it is meant to be. There is lot of strategies that goes on, and I'll start understanding what is happening. And that time when I see as an audience also, there is better understanding. And if someone approaches, I have better knowledge to tell them that no, this is how it is going to be. You're going to learn, and I can give a few insights to them also. Whole different thing.
The way I see the excitement when you're talking about this. So, how is normal riding and riding in a race? Feeling wise, how different is it? Tell us your experience.
You wait for it, like, especially when you're going in labs. My personal experiences, I personally had 2, 3 favorite spots in that track. So you wait for it. That is how racing is. When I heard other women around me who had raced in international circuits also, when they talk, they have that excitement. They say very particularly that both the international circuit, this particular corner is where I enjoyed. This is where I crashed. This is how it happened. You connect to that. Riding on road is a different feeling. It is wonderful because everything is new there. Everything is new. People are new. Whoever is riding around you are new. The roads are new. It's a new experience. But in racing, it is the same track. Everyone are racing there. Everyone have one goal to win. So you just keep on improving, improvising. You're in that same loop, but every time you're getting better. That is a quick example of how practice makes everything perfect. A very quick example. Your lap time will eventually increase because you know what mistakes you did in the previous lap. It is a quick correction that you keep doing. But in everyday routes, it is a different feeling. It is full of surprises. You don't know what pothole comes, who comes in between, what is going to happen next. You are going to be all alert. But racing, it is you're going to plan, you're going to look forward for that. Okay, this is coming now, this is my time, this is my turning, this is my point. That excitement is different. It's a great
Yeah.
feeling.
I think it also teaches you to be in the moment, not really think about anything else. So I think that brings in the joy of experiencing it as and when it's happening.
Yes, you can't even stop there in between if you feel like we do on roads. I feel okay, maybe I'm not riding quite well, let me take a break. You don't do that there. You will be confident. You are forced to be confident and you will end up being confident. After the racing, also, there are a lot of changes that I made in my day to day riding as well. The techniques that I learned there, which is helping me to this day. And very recently, I went on a bike ride with my colleagues. And they had also noticed changes. They were like, okay, now we got to know why you were speeding up, even though there was a corner ahead. Okay, now we know that you're not fearing. Now we know why that fear is not there. That time I realized that whatever, wherever we learn, we are going to implement in very random places that we never thought we would. We get adapted to that. It comes from within when you have done it once.
So when we're having conversations, Divya, about seeing it as a passion or just as a joy of doing it and as a profession, people might still accept the passions but not the professional side of it, considering probably it as a risky thing or stereotyping it as an unfeminine thing or maybe just a hobby. You need not take it professionally. What do you want to say about that now that you have experienced both sides of it?
Just because it is risky and majority of the crowd is not doing it, it is not wrong. That is one thing. One more major thing that happens is, see, even when I used to go and ride initially, though I used to have a fight at home that why you want to go, why can't you take a car, why can't you just travel by train like others and all. But after I come back from a ride and everything is good, they upload photos and say, see, my daughter did this, see, she did. And like, if you're happy about it, enjoy the moment when I'm there. See that I am going there on a bike and enjoy that particular moment also. So, that is the thing. There is a fear, of course. In my family also, there is a fear that if I take up racing as a career, which I don't have thought as of now, but if I did, there are a lot of questions that's going to come up and they might even try to stop me at some point. But if I continue and if I win, aren't you going to celebrate that? Of course you will. So why stop? If you will get that moment, if you will get that happiness when you win, then give it a try. That is the thing, that is the acceptance that I was talking about earlier also. Okay, let's give it a chance. We'll see how it goes.
And also add to that as a family, contribute to that success, not just celebrate it when it's
Yes.
happening.
So I want to ask you here. We have been talking about biking, but also other unconventional choices, right, as women that we make. Um, how can families or institutions like schools or community, society at large, what can they do to raise more confident girls, who can start to believe that they can pursue anything, be it motorcycles or solo travel or, unconventional career?
Yes. I think giving knowledge, even if it is little knowledge that we have, giving that passing on to people around us, to our next generations, become very important because if my parents would have not seen a girl riding a bike, even they would have not considered that bike is for a girl. Similar way, any profession, that exposure should be there. They introduced me biking and I liked it so much and I took it up. But I might have not also. That doesn't mean that I have to do it. If I'm introduced to something, I have to do it. At the same time, there is another perspective that you know that is dangerous. You know there are be consequences for that. But still, it is a very nice thing to do. So just expose your kid or your friends to that. That exposure is important. Knowledge of it is important that it exists. Then we'll see pros and cons and how to mitigate that and all. But educating that there are other things than normal careers that we choose becomes very important. Biking as career, even I didn't have much ideas how it is gonna be. Once I went into racing only, I got to know. Then you become the seasonal when you race the whole season with TVS, then you might become a factory racer for them one day. So this process I never knew. I also had a perception that to be a factory racer, maybe they would have trained to become a factory racer. But this way also exists. You can compete and reach that spot, but having knowledge of there is a concept called factory racer. If with that knowledge, then we can find a possibility of how to reach that point. The same way, when we know what all exists, then it becomes very clear on what we want. Choosing from 10 options and you have picked one choice, then you're very confident that you have picked the right one for you. But suppose you have picked from only 3 choices and you find out about 5 more later on, then the confusion starts. Maybe things would have been different. Maybe I would have done in a different way. What I'm doing, is it right? At least to avoid these things, it becomes very necessary to have good exposure of everything around us.
You are in your early 20s and you've already stepped into spaces many people still find very intimidating in a way, racing tracks, even cybersecurity for that matter. And you love to MC, you said, and going on stage is something people are usually afraid of, right? Do you listen a lot to your inner voice when you are navigating life in different spaces?
I just tend to go with the flow. Some days, for a particular phase, I'm just painting more. At a particular phase, I'm just biking more. I don't tend to bring balance or anything. It is fine. I just go with the flow. Now, this is what I want to do. Okay, let me do it. If there is pause for something, I don't sit and tend to think that why. Let me bring a balance back. So I think that one voice is clear for me, which I'm happy about. That it is fine to go with the flow. If one becomes less and more, it is fine. You can't find balance always. There is always up and downs.
And that eases out yourself into not putting into boxes, right? This is who I am, and this is what just I as an identity.
Yeah, that for that I would like to bring up something is maybe it was the way I was being brought up from school. I used to attend all competition. I had so many extracurricular activities. Sometimes it has even affected my studies because if there is a competition near your test or something, obviously you would have not concentrated on that. And my parents were not so much bothered about it as well. So as I grew up, I was fine doing multiple things. Maybe I went on so many debates. I was confident talking on stage, and that is how it led to MC. So you see, it started from a very young age where my perspectives were not even built yet. It was built in a very positive way for me. So that became something that gave me too much confidence and not doubting on how it is going to be. Even if I'm emceeing on a stage and something happens, I forget to tell something, that is fine because I've done that mistake once. And everybody clapped for me at that moment to encourage. Now I know. Again, if I do that mistake on stage, I can take a pause. I am a human too. So it is, you should let yourself make more mistakes because for the next mistake, at least you'll be confident. That is what is learning, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then for the second time, it won't be a mistake at all.
Handle it now. Just laugh about your own mistake and go on. That happens so many times when we keep doing the same mistake. If we slip a word multiple times, we just make fun of it and move on. Same with anything that I'm doing.
Was there any situation, Divya, where other girls have approached you saying you've been an inspiration, and how did that make you feel?
Yes, there were a couple of times that I was approached and told. As I recall now, I was having coffee with my friends and a classmate from mine from college. We were pretty close friends in college. And she said, the way you need to post more pictures on biking. I'm crazy about it. Every day I'm trying to show my parents that this also exists and I'm trying to get there. I'm like, yes, I'll do that. I will do that for you at least. So when people approach, it encourages me also. I'm not doing something that is giving only joy only for me, but someone else is also happy seeing that. They're happy and they aspire to do that. It's a wonderful feeling. And that too, when it comes to you without your intention and you working for it, and when it comes to you by itself, it's a blessing. It's great.
Just talking to you also makes me feel I mean, I've always loved bike rides, but even for me, I think every time I sit on a bike now, it's going to be a very different feeling. The way I look at it is going to be different because I'll always have this perspective that you have given us, about the joy of riding.
Thank you. I have this one thought which I had not got a platform to share, and I would like to take this chance. See, when a group of men go for a ride and they come back, they speak about how great the ride was, how joyful it was, how they enjoyed it. So a ride is just a ride for them. There is no other perspective to that. But if you ask majority of the women how you felt riding, they feel empowered, they feel freedom in something that is very common, and they have to feel joy. Uh, they have to feel freedom in it because the circumstances made them feel that way. There is a major part that they're missing out in middle of all these things. So don't do it for anyone around you is something I would like to ask everyone out there. Let her enjoy her ride as a ride. Then, having that feeling as finally I did it. No, let it be a very common thing, everyday thing that she enjoys every time without taking it as a responsibility. That perspective is there. If I take a bike now, I've struggled a lot now. If I get a bike, then I will be inspiring to others because I have been through that part. But when you overcome that, you're just doing it out of joy, and people also they start recognizing it, and it becomes a very common thing. That whole vibe changes. Every next woman who buys a motorcycle will not feel that this is the freedom I've got. This is our opportunity to empower. They'll not feel it that way because it is common now. We don't feel like that about driving now, right? The same way.
The achievement part is momentary. What should stay with you is the joy, is what I understand. And
Yes.
I can also relate to it in terms of other things, like I know I love cooking and cooking brings me a lot of joy. But when I hear people say, "Oh, you cook 3 times a day," isn't it too much? And I understand when you look at it as a job to be done,
Yes.
something I have to do, then it becomes something I don't want to really do it,
Yes.
Or if I do it, I did so much today, right?
Yes.
Like, even if a man cooks at home these days, you will hear, "Wow, you cooked." It seems
Yeah.
like some great achievement which we have been doing for 20 years. Nobody really has talked so much about it. But I think anything we pick up with passion, it should bring joy. And that passion and joy are the two more important things than the achievement. The achievement is very momentary, is what I'm understanding from what you just described to us. Like, it comes into the perspective.
Yeah, it's more like the journey and the destination. The destination shouldn't look like an achievement, but more the journey importance.
Yes. It is not that don't do it, don't see it in an achievement perspective, but I also want everyone to enjoy the other side also, which
Absolutely.
might have not crossed many of their minds. Uh, your confidence level also increases. and you want to do it more and more because you're not being pressurized.
Yeah. That's the world we want to build, like where everybody is able to support each other and come to places where they find joy. I here want to also talk about your profession. You are into cybersecurity.
Actually, it was by chance that it happened. I was interested in networking to go to a network domain, but then I got into the company as a part of campus recruitment. So I got into cybersecurity there. Cybersecurity is something, it requires round the clock of work, one or the other person to keep an eye on it. What I realized is here also there are different paths. Like I said, once I'm into it and I decided that, okay, let me take it as a career. Now I have seen different paths.
The reason why I asked you this question is also because while I was researching, I would like to share this with you that cybersecurity actually isn't often associated with women.
Yes.
It is a more male dominated space. And I was going through some statistics, and as of 2023, women made up around 24-25% of global cybersecurity workforce, uh, which was much lesser 10 years back, right? Just 11%. And interestingly, that globally, the statistics is big, but in India, more women are into cybersecurity. Like women make up actually 30 to 35% of the overall IT workforce. And in cybersecurity, the representation is around 17-20%. So this stereotype thing is not just there in one space, right? Like when it comes to gender, in something so this is a very skill based area, I understand. Even there, you see discrepancy. What is
Yes.
been
What
your
is said is
experience?
very right. This, especially the male domination industry, cybersecurity is, even to this day on a ground level, it is true. I have heard my own teammates having a little fear or a doubt when there is a new girl on team, like how her support is going to be. Like for guys, it will be very easy for them to be on night shift or anything because of various factors in that matter. We can't say women are not choosing it due to their own fear. Also, maybe the society is that way. When you are in a night shift, you want to have that secure feeling. And now companies are providing enough support. There are companies who say after 7, if it is night shift, then it is only work from home, or cab is compulsory. In night, you cannot go outside office. So these are some of the measures that they take in order to give a secure feeling a person needs in order to do something that they want. You see, that is the acceptance and everything. They understood what was going on, why this struggle. Even though they were fine working 24/7 at any shift, any timings, but there are other factors that question their decision. So for that, there is great improvement. That is the support, why the percentage increase end of the day is because of the support that we are getting. And also on the other hand, I agree, as AI develop, in advancement of AI, cyber security is something that is going to be a very secure field, and it is going to
Yeah.
boost, it is going to bloom in future. And now it is being introduced in colleges and school from a very young age. When we studied also, cyber security is only was about hacking, but no, there are other branches and everything which I also learned after taking it as a profession. But the knowledge sharing is different now. It is a very secure environment now. That whole revolution that happened in IT also plays a major role. In leadership, we didn't have so many women leaders, but now that we see, they're doing so much great. I know my company VP was a very brave woman. She had taken cybersecurity for whole of her career, like by choice. She She has represented herself, the company, for global leaderships, and she has been the best when it comes to cybersecurity. So those opportunities, see, as a fresher, when I see someone like that, I get that confidence. Like, yeah, if she has done it 20 years back when support was not even half of it, what is there now, maybe it is not that difficult for me. I can do it with the support. Again, all things that we spoke till now, visibility, the support from people around, and how it is becoming a normal thing.
Though biking was not a stereotype that you had to break, but broken by your parents. But if you have to look back on your life, if you have experienced any type of stereotypes that you're trying to dismantle, either within your own self or with the world around you, what is that?
With myself, I would say that fear of solo traveling is something that I'm still trying to overcome. And I also believe that maybe someday I should get going and then figure out how it is. Take all precautionary measures and see how it goes. So it is there in back of my mind from a long time now that why I have not done anything solo. Why not solo riding? So that is one thing. But in society's perspective, there are so many things that needs to change. School is not only education, and just because you're winning in school and later it might not be your profession, but it plays a very major role in shaping how your approach is to different things. That is something that has to change. Like, it is not only important that you score a good ranking, then you're good. No, being in different competition, participating, going out, meeting students from other school, what you learn is how exactly the world works, how you're going to adapt with them. Sometimes it is not even about how better you are than them, did you win or not. It is not even about that. It is just about you going out of your school, out of your world to a different world, and how you represent yourself. Those things you start to adapt even before you realize. That is what happened with me. Nobody said that don't do it because this is gonna happen, but it always used to be like, be careful, keep us informed, keep us posted on what is happening. Since this was the approach, even now I know if I have to do something different or something that I'm doing for the first time, I know that I have to keep a few people informed for my own safety, and I need to have at least a brief idea of who is nearby or who I have to reach out. These are some of the precautions I can take. So now I'm aware, which came from personal experience than anyone telling me and me making a checklist.
Yeah. It so you were somebody who learned all this at a very young age, right? Like that you can pursue so many things. You have even played sports at a state level. So there is a varied identity you own for yourself. Now that you are at an age where you're entering proper adulthood, earning for yourself, going for a job, how does all this affect all these passions of yours? How is that changing, or is it changing? And if it is changing, what would you like to do about?
See, somewhere now, if I think back, it's been 2.5 years since I started working. But as a student, things that I had, perspectives that I had, like, oh, how can you leave biking because you started working? How can you do that just because you're working? How can you let responsibility come in way? These are the kind of questions that I often asked people around me that I'm close to. Now I'm in that situation. I have also ended up the same way. But since I am able to realize that this is happening, now I can find a way out. Now I know what I wanted and I know that I'm not doing it. So I think it will be easier for me to know what next. How can I manage? Now I start seeing people who are going on weekend rides like I used to do when I was in my college. If they're able to do it in their professional life, then yeah, maybe I have a chance too because I questioned it then. Just because I'm in the situation and I didn't follow what my thought process was before. So it becomes easy to come back. I think figuring out will become easy.
It's about remembering what you really wanted through the response.
I have a silly and funny question actually, Divya. I have biker friends who treat bike like a whole person. If there are boys who own bikes, treat it like a girlfriend, and girls treating it as a boyfriend. So when you are riding the bike, just you and the bike on the road, how do you see it? Do you also see it as a person?
Yes.
What's the kind of conversations you have with the bike?
There is so much connection to it. I think any biker who hears this will be able to, connect to that. When you're riding a bike, you connect with the bike. You're sad, you're happy. Sometimes you might have shown it on the bike, and immediately you regret that no, I can't show my anger on my bike. This is something that has stood by me. Because it is same way when you love a person, how you don't want to hurt them, the same way you love it. You love what you're doing. You love your ride. That becomes an emotional connection. One little scratch on bike, even if there is a dirt, you get that like that connection is there. That is true. That connection of boyfriend girlfriend with the bike is very true.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a biker, and I was speaking to his mom, and she keeps saying that even if he is not taking bath, he'll give bath to the bike.
Maybe at certain point it is even like bike is something that will not question you, that will not make you doubt yourself. It will just listen to you, to what you do. You ride it well, it rides well. You do some mistake, then something happens to bike. So there is no any thought or anything that is imposing on you. That is one thing why you have such strong connection with any non-living thing. Even when you are talking with any stranger, sometimes we feel too much comfort because they don't know our background. They'll not try to judge us or question us on our action. They just listen and they feel a wow factor. That is why maybe that connection becomes very strong suddenly with a stranger. You're in a bus, and this has happened to me. If you're traveling in a bus or a train, any public transport, and suddenly with a stranger, you have very deep conversation that you might have not had with your close friends also. That is because they are listening to you with no perspective, no judgment, and you don't fear what that person is going to think of you after you get down from that bus. Because it just ends there. Same way with the bike. You tell anything to the bike will not come and ask you, why were you sad the other day? What happened? Maybe that is also one more perspective is what I have personally. That is why most bikers run to bike when they are sad, when they are happy. You just take your bike and just go because you feel like an escape, and that is the connection. You're not going alone. When you go there, you have your bike, you park it there, so it is waiting for you to come back and take you back. That is how you treat a bike. That's how the feeling will be.
That's such a sweet response.
Yeah, I was just thinking how beautiful the world will be if everybody, every other human can replicate what a bike can do in
Yes,
terms of being non-judgmental, no perspectives, no ill intentions about
exactly.
another person.
Yes, it will not put you in a box, which we do. That is the stereotype that we have been talking about in this episode. That is the thing, right? Like when you do something, there is always that you you will be made to fit into a box, a community, a category. No, everyone is different. The way I enjoy, maybe the other person might not. The way they do, I might not. It is different.
Very true. Divya, if you have to convey to our listeners what has biking taught you about yourself that nothing else has in your life?
Everything that you do, you're taking a step towards something that you're doing for the first time. It will open up a whole world for you. And in every world, you will be a different person. And it is not like I have different worlds and I'm a different person. You adapt every quality. There is learning in every version of you, and the more versions you discover of yourself, the more and more better you become, the more clarity you get of what I'm doing is right or wrong. it helps you make your decision. So if you want to do something, and you know it is not wrong, it is not hurting anyone, and you're not putting yourself in a very dangerous situation, which becomes important, just do it. Take the precautionary measures and do it. Give it a try. Let's see what is going to happen. At least try it in a small scale, small step at a time.
Yeah. Powerful that you chose doing it. Like, if you feel like, just do it. With just extending that, I want to ask you, what would you want to say um, about being a woman, choosing your own path and living in freedom? This is a place where you can give your voice to this thought.
Like out there in the world, there are so many people who are ready to support you. At no point you're alone, at least in this world. With all the media and reachability that we have, I think you just have to find that right group. Before it was very difficult, but now for everything there is a support group. You can find people who you can resonate with easily than before. So go find your comfort place. You will find your confidence there. And once you have that confidence, then you can start spreading that aura to everyone around you. So that is how everything becomes a better place, and everyone are in a good environment, in the good same space that once you were craving for yourself.
Thank you, Divya. I'm taking just do it, even if there is fear, because that's how you pass through the fear. Thank you for riding with us through this conversation, not just with your words, but with your lively presence as well. Listening to you felt like witnessing a quiet strength in motion. We felt we were riding through you in the journey of racing with the bike. I think this really needs a big shout out from us. So, listening to you felt witnessing a lot of strength, right? So, that was beautiful. Your journey reminded that breaking stereotype will always not be like a protest, but sometimes just joy and love. Choosing yourself over and over again, prioritizing you, and doing what you love. On behalf of the Human Weave and all our listeners, thank you for showing your authentic self, your graceful fire that you have, and the passion that you brought in being a biker, for reminding us that freedom often begins with a single ride. And the choice and the mindset, like you mentioned, to just take that small step.
So much, Roshan. Yes, this platform, it has helped me also realize so many things that I might had stopped halfway. And there's a lot of learning that I also got through this podcast. Thank you, and all the very best for you guys. You guys are doing a great job, even for the guests that you bring in. Uh, with personal experience, I can say there are few things that even we realize as a guest here. I might have not realized that being visible was this important for other person. When I have everything in my power to do that, to make that happen, somewhere I was not doing it. So as a guest also, there is a lot of learning, and I have been here as an audience also. That's great learning. These raw stories that you're bringing up, all the very best for you guys. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Divya. And I would like to take this opportunity to also tell that you have been one of those guests who brings so much ease with just her presence. The conversation just flowed like talking to a friend, honestly.
Thank you, Rosni. Thank you for the comfort you both gave me. It was just like conversation over a cup of coffee, like we have with friends.
So, dear listeners, as this episode rides along in your thoughts, we invite you to pause and reflect. The most powerful journeys often lead us inward. Today's conversation with Divya is just that, a quiet call to explore how breaking boundaries begins with the courage to choose your own path, supported by family and friends who encourage a passion free from gendered restriction. Here are a couple of questions to help you navigate breaking gender based stereotypes. When was the last time you did something that others might have seen as unusual for your gender or background? And how did it change the way you see yourself? What's one way you can support someone in your life, be it your daughter, wife, sister, mother, friend, or colleague who is challenging traditional gender roles, and how might your support inspire those around you?
As we reflect, we will unlearn old stories, listen deeply, and maybe even rewrite a part of our own story. Because honoring every part of who you are, especially the parts that don't fit in the mold, it's not just the courage, it's an act of love.
Remember, breaking stereotypes isn't a one time act, it's a ripple, a revolution, and a reclaiming of freedom. It starts with small choices, like Divya pointed out in our podcast today. Everyday choices, supported by those who believe in you. Thank you for joining us in this powerful conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to The Human Weave for more conversations that challenge, connect, and inspire. Until next time, this is Roshan Yash reminding you to be bold, be yourself, and keep weaving your unique story. Stay connected, stay curious.